So I love that term, think tank.
Think tank.
You know what a think tank is? Like, how's a think tank go, James?
Yeah, they got cancel culture nowadays. You gotta watch what you say. It's getting real scary out here.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't know if I can take the conversation here, but we might as well. It's the Rethink Tank. Looks like you had a little bit too much to think here in the Rethink Tank.
Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Rethink Tank. This is, believe it or not, the same studio that we left you in last time, but we have completely turned it over. A lot of hard work has been put into this. Nenad, my guest today,
Hello.
a special friend and someone that has been a big help in developing all of this, is my good friend Nenad. Camur, how are you, sir?
Good, sir. Pleasure to be here. Happy to be on this beautiful set.
Oh, it's come together well. And alongside Nenad, I think the biggest help and the biggest attribute to this entire thing, I have to thank my Uncle Michael, who built this desk, this custom beast.
Amazing.
Put together literally every bit of this with me. It was a lot of long, tireless nights, and I got to thank my Aunt Jackie for letting me steal him for as long as I did, too. So I thank them both very much. But aside from that, dude, Nenad, it's been a while since I've been able to even do a podcast. Let's just see where the sound is at while I'm talking to you, because this is just so sharp and sexy. I want to take advantage of hearing it. But so the last time I did a podcast, it was taken off the air, and it was at a groundbreaking time. Let me tell you, so to kick off our conversation, I want to talk about the last podcast. Okay. So this is the first one back. The last podcast, all the Browns were in the playoffs.
Okay.
And they won, and they should have won too. They were going to go to the Super Bowl
Robbed.
and dominate some hoes.
Yep, some bad play calls with the Chiefs.
Yes, but even better, and the Buckeyes were in the national championship. It was a great time to be a sports fan in Cleveland, Ohio. And I had a Paul Brown, who's a longtime guest, and we've had him on quite a bit. I had Paul on. All we did was talk football. Last 10 minutes, I go, hey, Paul, we have to talk about it because it's literally going on live as we speak. But there's some crazies storming the Capitol. Can you believe that? And,
yes,
and we started talking about storming the Capitol and how wild this was. And again, not to, beat an already dead horse, but I know how these algorithms work, how playing with Big Brother and Silicon Valley, I know the game. So in no world was I advocating. It was all the liberal language they need, right? But my theory is they couldn't afford to have any leak on the narrative. They have to completely own the narrative. So if there's anybody out there talking about it, especially when it's fresh, new, and live, we got to fight it. So my
now let me just clarify.
Please.
So the episode you were talking about, the actual raid on the,
and it's going on as we speak. Like because again, I have plans. We're going live with Paul at whatever time, and it could have been like in the afternoon, but an hour or so leading up to it, we have this crazy event going on. So I literally had it on mute on the TV. Because again, also, folks, we got distracted of what we had the puppet and dance, and it was all paid actors from Los Angeles. I shouldn't say that because that's going to get me pulled. But at the end of the day, you had this falsely very real event. And on the flip side of it, what did it distract us from? Sorry if I'm screaming into the microphone. I'm getting used to this, folks. But what did it distract us from but the fact that the Senate and our representatives were debating the legitimacy of our election? There was a very real event going on. No conversation of it. And actually, it did such a sufficient job of being the smoke and mirror that it was. You're actually the villain. You're actually the Wild Simpson character with the moose horns on your head. If you even bring up what they were talking, because again, we have Asiago Cortez out here reminding us that Ted Cruz incited all this just as much as, just for saying, hey, maybe some fishy stuff went on. That's neither here nor there. I digress. The fact of the matter is, some other real stuff was going on. And this was all probably just a very massive distraction. And they couldn't afford to have somebody else, or anybody else for that matter, have a narrative that wasn't CNN or their main mouthpieces. So I have the ability to appeal the video strike.
Okay.
Also, folks, 3 strikes, you're out. Your channel's permanently banned. So, of course, I'm like, yeah, I'm appealing this. Are you joking me? So I appeal it. Now, my theory is they have an algorithm that funnels through. I mean, I think it's I don't have the statistic, but it's crazy. Like hundreds of thousands of hours are being uploaded to YouTube a day. It's wild numbers. To be able to monitor that, we've got children using this platform like crazy. I understand the liability there and the need to like heavily police it. But at the same time, so again, how do you do that? You filter through it with probably algorithms.
Absolutely.
Algorithms, what said the Capitol storming? And I probably flagged it. So now on appeal, an actual human has to sit through and find out in the secret community guidelines that you really don't have access to.
Time.
That are, well, some of them that are available to you are it's like a quagmire. It's very thick. But, us attorneys, we're willing to sign up for that. I'll read through your shit. I'll find it. I'll find what I need to find. I'll go through it. But you keep also a lot of it behind a veil because it's secret. Twitter's renowned for that. Secret guidelines that you better know not to cross them. Listen, just show me the line. I won't cross it. So I think they've got a list of secret guidelines. I could easily find what ambiguous one of these I can make fit this video.
Absolutely.
Before on the podcast, I would have the first clip, something attention grabbing, something totally random. It could have something to do with what we're talking about in the podcast. It could totally not. But it would be just a fun clip to get your attention in the first few seconds. So I grabbed this clip. It was a TikTok, and it's a funny video of a Russian kid jumping on a shovel. And he jumps on the shovel, and he dodges it, and he dodges it. And what makes it funny is there's a boxing announcer in the background, like, oh, and he dodges it again, and he dodges it. And then he jumps on it, and it hits him in the head. And he's like, oh, and a strike. And then he does it again, and and a knockout, and that's the end of it. It's just a kid jumping on a shovel. He bonks himself on the head a couple times, but he's fine. He runs it off, and it's all giggles. Well, what's funny is on the appeal, they said the strike stands. And the violation that they gave me was that my podcast of an hour and a half talking about football promoted child violence. It showed a child violence.
No way.
And I go to my father and I go, Dad, here's Fail Army with 36 million subscribers. It's one of YouTube's biggest platforms or channels on their platform. Pick a video. I just go, Dad, pick any one on the entire page. You have the freedom. Pick it. And you could go through, chopping through that. And it's kids falling off of swing sets, kids getting hit with baseball bats. The hypocrisy. But I'm not making them hundreds of millions of dollars like Fail Army. And I sure as shit am doing a little bit of controversy and stirring up the pot that they want to control. Absolutely. So it's a beauty to be back. And now you can't ignore us. We even have a sign. And once you get a neon sign, you become real. There's no backing down. You can't break us. So what I'm most excited for is we couldn't have come back with a stronger force. And it wasn't even intentional. This was going to be the series of events anyway. But of course, when they knock us off our perch, we come back stronger. Goliath ain't got a chance because David's always fighting. But yeah, dude, what do you think of that? How wild?
Honestly, that's crazy. And it seems like they're fishing. For just cause. The only problem here being YouTube there's obviously other opportunities to monetize yourself and put videos out there, but they're the forefront, right? It's like, okay, let me use a different social media app other than Instagram or Facebook. It's like, well, how many people are actually using it, right? Defeats the purpose of views. So for me, it's like an obstruction of power, but they control it, you have to your point, beat them at their own game in some ways. But regardless, I gotta say, I've seen the hard work, bits and pieces of it. Man, I am so impressed. I don't think it does us justice what you see on camera for what you can feel as you're sitting here. This is just there's a lot of good episodes waiting to happen, and I think it's a great environment for just inhibiting some good creativity.
And look, we
man.
dressed the part for it
Yes,
too. Like, damn straight.
as you should. If you're coming on a legitimate show like this, you better dress the part and you better be prepared.
I even think like we're putting Tucker in a shadow. Like these people, we are as sharp as it comes.
They're not ready for this. This is a freight train coming. Stay off the tracks. You know?
Exactly. But you raised a great point. So guys, a little scene behind the curtain. Something that's coming, that's in the works is so I need to get in shape. Law school, sitting on the couch like a couch potato. I just got fatter, and then the coronavirus came, and it was an excuse not to move and just only wither away.
Like
and
many of us. Right.
But the beauty is, once you get under the veil of these satanic evil people, and you allow yourself to get some vitamin D,
Yes,
it's
sir.
amazing how much you're revitalized. Like we literally are batteries running on the sun. And you got to get it wherever you can. Finally being able to come home. Finally getting out of the cave that is the COVID apartment. And I get to come back to Cleveland. I'm watching the Browns do great. I'm with friends. It is amazing, to the diet culture where people get stuck in a vicious cycle.
Yep, a loop.
That's all you know. That's all you live. So, like, your back pains, your knee pains, waking up sick because you ate too many Oreos because, you were late night and playing Xbox. Like, you get used to, like, oh, that's just how you wake up. But then you're always snowballing. It's up to you to choose which way you're snowballing.
Yep.
You want to snowball in a way that's turning you into a Greek Titan, or do you just want to be fluffy?
Yeah. And sometimes maybe you're not predisposed to look a certain way, but there is a full potential and there's a high bar that you can't attain. It's like, what's your standard? What's your personal standard? And to your point, I think the diet culture is very results driven. We spoke about this many times. If you are process based and you love your process for working out, for doing whatever it is, the results are checkpoints. If you're looking to lose weight and you lose it and you didn't love your process, what do you think's going to happen? Are you going to keep the weight off?
That's a great point. And that's with everything.
Yeah.
Look at the most successful people, podcasters, movie people, celebrities athletes. All of them will always tell you at the end of their road, when they've already accomplished it, they sit back and they go, their favorite part of the entire thing was the process, was the journey. And so fall in love with the journey or you're never going to get there because you're going to, it comes down to like, what I'm realizing with our lazy ass millennial counterparts is that being a child of an immigrant family, I just worked way too hard compared to everybody else. And, these work ethics are just dying aggressively. Hence why we can't keep any of these businesses employed. But that's neither here nor there. The main point is, one of the main things I learned as, I'm 14 years old working a job while everybody else is just, going to the rec center swimming. You have to lay bricks. This sucks. I don't want to do this for the day. This is a miserable way to spend my day. But if I spend the time going, this freaking sucks, man, and I drag my ass because I'm miserable and I'm upset the fact that I have to lay bricks.
Yeah,
it
poor
takes
attitude,
longer.
right?
It's miserable. It drags it on. I mean, it just makes it worse. Whereas you go, this sucks, but it's going to have to get done. So I am doing everything I can to get this done as quick as possible. Now, guess what? You've got a whole afternoon to enjoy the fact that, one, you worked your ass off and now you're in better shape, everything else. But also, not only do you get the fruits of, the success of how I did it, but also it's done quicker. It's done more effectively. Get out of the headspace of like, well, if I play the woe is me game, it goes away. No. One thing, I always say this, and I've said it on the podcast before, but the one takeaway from college, all the things, all the classes, whatever, number one theme was it'll never get done unless you do it yourself. So the fact of the matter is it's never going to get done unless you just put your nose down and get rid of it.
Yep.
And that's with everything. But we got go ahead.
Nothing's free for that matter. So there's always a cost. There's a cost for your leisure. There's a cost for your happiness. There's a cost for your enjoyment. You have to subscribe to some level of suffering. Now, we're lucky enough where our level of suffering in the 21st century, especially if where we're at geographically, we're a little better off than other parts of the world, to say the least. But historically speaking, look at what your great-great-grandfather or grandmother were doing to put food on the table. They had to put in the work to to feed their family, to put food on the table, right?
Wow.
And that echoes with everything. Nothing's free. Even free signs, free ads, free samples at Sam's Club when you're walking through. You have to take your time and attention to go grab that. It's not, there is a cost. Now, if your time, your 30 seconds to 2 minutes, it doesn't cost that much, all right, you might not see it as high value, but you still traded something for that. And they're advertising to you. They know that. They know that very well.
Not to get sidetracked too much, dude, because I do want to bring it. I was going to make a point, but we got.
Yeah, of course.
But not to get too sidetracked. One thing that I do want to say, though, is it is wild, dude. In sociology, in a class that I took in college, one of the things that I learned, or one of the things that our professor kind of presented to us that just has always rung true. Before I continue, what were we just talking about? For those of you who want to accomplish things in this world and conquer things, there's just simply not enough time in the world. It is, you are always fighting time. My day is only so long. 8 of them I've sold to my job so I can afford to progress in the other 4 at my availability, right? Like at the end of the day, you got 12 hours and the other ones you're eating food, relaxing, or exercising. So at the most, I forego my lunches at work so I can walk. I mean, you got to get it where you can. The fight is, are you going to have enough time? It's always a fight against time. And the thing that professor kind of instilled in us, or in me, was everything. We look at money, value in terms of money more than anything. But the reality is everything is measured in man hours. Money is just a physical way to reflect that.
Yeah, and represent it, right?
Exactly. A CEO is worth as much as they are because they have 100 people, thousands of people working for them. They own 1,000 man hours. So you've all, like I said, to my job at the courthouse, I sell 8 hours of my day to them.
Yeah.
So the leader of that, the top of the pyramid, owns my 8 hours. And everything's measured in man hours. From Sam's Club, I've given up my 45 minutes. Not only have I paid to just enter Sam's Club, but nonetheless, I've still taken my time to go in your establishment.
Absolutely.
I'm giving you my everything. Dude, back to the main point here. This is not even a main point to make here is we all, when we get upset about these algorithms, we get upset about, censorship and everything else. The way to fight that is taking your viewership and your dollar serious. The vote, we know, is a sham. It's very clear. They're stealing it where they want it. It is theirs. So your vote, the real vote in a capitalist society and an hashtag America, is your attention. If you don't like bullshit on Netflix,
Ding, ding, ding.
Stop putting it on your screen, right? You don't necessarily need to get Netflix to take down the movie with 13-year-olds twerking. Just don't watch it, you creep, and then it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
The sad part is it should tell you that there's people looking for that on Netflix.
Sad but true.
Attention and your dollars, right? Like, guys, we went to a really fancy restaurant for my mom's birthday last night. It was like a $250 bill. Not even a tip, right? It's expensive as hell. And they charged us $5 for using a credit card. What? I mean, that's not even anywhere. You don't even get that at Red Robin. And you're a fancy-ass restaurant, you're doing that. Why? I mean, when it comes to my insurance to go to a dental plan, I have a not-so-good dental plan as compared to my dad's dental plan. So just to give you an idea, my dad just taught me this, that, like, their insurance company sends so many people to them, or is so big, that what would cost $210, they go, we'll give you 80. And the doctor goes, sure, you give us so many people, we'll take 80. And that's it. They take 80 from my dad. Whereas me, because I don't have as big of an insurance, they go, the insurance goes, well, we're going to give you 200. And the doctor goes, well, we still want 210. So they look at me for $10. So I literally have to pay 10 to get to a 210 final, cost to the doctor. Whereas my dad, they took $81 happily because they get so much business from my dad's insurance.
Yeah,
they didn't look at my dad for the other, $100 or whatever. So it's, I guess where I'm getting at is from the insurance to kind of all of this, we need to take our dollar more serious. So back to the restaurant. That's where I kind of got sidetracked. But the restaurant, if you don't like that, then you stop going. And then guess what? They start realizing we better eat the $5 because we're upsetting people's experience here.
Now, my thought when I hear that, I wonder how many credit cards or payments bounced or people came in.
That could be something.
We don't know, though. The other part is if you go to a convenience store, what's like the limit? It's usually $5 because they get like a 75-cent fee. Yep. If they're getting a 75-cent fee on less than $5, I'm not sure how this works. I'd have to talk to somebody who's familiar with credit card processing, but I imagine that fee is not $5. I mean, it's like burger places. They'll pay a little extra. It's definitely
a percentage.
It has to be. But then you also have the upcharge for condiments that people do. I mean, some burger places, I'm pretty sure on the books, this is millions of dollars in revenue that they make for ranch on the side, right?
Hey, man, if your chicken place doesn't change their logo to a rainbow and you support that, go buy a damn chicken sandwich, right? Like, you vote with your dollars.
Support the businesses you want to support, and that it's the trading of hands, right?
Hey, man. Regardless, that's why I shop at Chick-fil-A in June. But to the main point I was trying to get at, before we even go back 5 minutes ago, giving you a sneak peek behind the veil of what's to come, is I want to make these shirts, gray T-shirts, that the print is clear, and then when you sweat in them, the print shows through. And I wanted to say, I work hard to make Lizzo jokes offensive. Because multiple times on the podcast, one, we had, what was it? Forever 21 got in trouble for putting Adkins diets bars with, they were selling a new pair of pants, and they had to deal with Adkins.
You're kidding me.
All the different sizes, though.
You're kidding me.
But the heavy set ones got offended.
You're kidding me. That's purposeful. Somebody's trying to... Somebody had a 2-week
dude,
notice.
That's funny.
Somebody put in 2 weeks, and then it's like, run it with the Adkins bar. Run it with the Adkins bar. I mean,
you're probably right, dude.
That's a big miss, man. That's a big miss.
Oh, sorry, guys. That cracked me up. That's a good one. It probably was, but also, man, at the end of the day, it's a business venture. We're in the clothing business. Look at Polo. Or Abercrombie. Abercrombie's the biggest one. As a chubby kid growing up in the early 2000s, late 90s, when Abercrombie was a polo for kids, it was sharp, expensive. It was it. It was the line.
Abercrombie and Finch.
Express is another one.
Yeah.
These are companies that refuse to tailor to fat Americans. They just, that's what our brand is.
They sexualize all their ads too, right?
Well, that's weird too. The Abercrombie thing is weird, for sure.
Think now, Hollister. Remember when you'd go, I was in middle school, I'd go to the mall, and they'd always have some guys with their shirts off in front of it.
Yeah, how weird is that?
Now looking back, but even then I'm like, I wouldn't take that job, man. That's just weird.
Just moms taking a picture with you in the mall.
You're just like a human mannequin. It's like, look,
that is
don't
weird.
touch.
But again, though, at the same time, as somebody who struggled with their weight, there's clothes that I really wanted to wear, but it just doesn't work. Is it their fault? Is it their fault? At the end of the day, back to what we were getting at, is a lot of this is a choice that we've convinced ourselves.
Well said.
You're meant, and I'm willing to not bet, but I'm willing to actually just sacrifice myself on the fact that I can guarantee all of these people that are body positivity, diet culture's damning them. We could put them in an Amish life or a military family life. Just pick you up, put you in a totally different life. You were born at an infant in another life.
Yeah.
Your interests are different. You know what? One of the coolest things that was instilled in me at a very young age was if we took a clone of Nenad at a very young infant, and we just gave it to a whole other family in the neighborhood, another family in Washington State, on the other side of the country. It could literally be anybody.
Talking nature versus nurture.
You're a totally different human being.
I agree with you. I think nurture plays a bigger effect.
No. They both have an. Here's the deal, though. Out of every different scenario of my Nenads, Washington, Michigan, down the street from where you were, just a different dad.
Yeah, crazy parallel
All of
universe.
them come out with a different Nenad, but they still come out different than all the different variations of me or Matt Stevenson
Absolutely.
or Kemp or anybody. Like, it's all, it's 50-50, almost 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
50% of it is your nature, 50% of it is your nurture. And, yeah, so to the point of, like, these people who blame the Abercrombie bag. No. The Abercrombie bag only has power. It only has weight. It only has monetary value to a $1 million corporation because we innately crave it. You can't fight the nature of what is health. Yeah. And so when you go back to my great-great ancestors climbing like mountain goats on the mountains in Greece, their life struggle was to find today's meal. My life struggle is to fight the appetite craving of Mally's chocolates and go for the carrots. Yeah. It's tough, but that's called,
very tough.
You need to earn what you have. So if you want to survive the mountain world, you got to find that rattlesnake to eat tonight. And if you want to survive McDonald's life, you got to forego plastic burgers every once in a while and eat a little bit of lettuce. That isn't society's fault.
A little sacrifice goes a long way. But
it takes work.
You made the point about where your family comes from. I think, look, when my family came here to the U.S. in the 90s, right? Yeah. Very thankful for every opportunity I've had. The one thing that happens when you come here, right, for how much diversity is preached, we become white, black,
tribal,
and we just
pick our teams.
We lump everybody together. But it's like, listen, you come from a specific region. If your ancestry came from Nordic region, Sweden, Norway, you're gonna have a specific diet that works for you. Like your ancestors probably were very fat dense diets, great fish. All those things react differently with your body. You're in the States. If you don't know your roots, you're going to have a hard time understanding your body as well.
That's a
right?
huge piece too.
Like you look at from Pacific Islanders, Samoans, some of the strongest people in the world. The diets they have may not be as sustainable for somebody that's, I imagine, somewhere near the equator where you don't need as much food or carb dense material, or maybe you need more carbs in that area. It all depends. So it's the labeling of like a rule set to make something easy for us. Health and improvement is not easy. It takes detail and time. You got to understand yourself before you can start labeling wide rules on what may affect your mental health when it comes to attaining your goals, right?
100%.
You know?
Dude, so, but again, it comes figuratively and literally, it's an exercise. It's an exercise, which means it isn't something you can pick up and put down. It's something that you have to habitually and consistently attack.
Absolutely.
Joe Rogan nails it, as always. I quote him, but he says, you know, you're always fighting your inner bitch. I mean, there are so many times where I'm running the hills and I'm like, I'm beating yesterday's me. Like that yesterday I couldn't make it all the way up sprinting. Mm-hmm. I'm beating yesterday. So again, it is always you versus you, but the heart of the point is, you know, so we got sidetracked on the Adkins diet bars. Sure, I'm sure there was some fishy shit going on there, but also, dude, at the same time, you are a corporation that sells clothes. Adkins has this, because again, that was right at the time, Cliff bars, everything else is popping off, and, you know, health bars are becoming a thing. Why wouldn't you try to seek out, I mean, even poor women, but like a female line, because I ain't going to an Adkins bar. That's just part of it too.
We're
not the
died
market
as a brand until keto came back around.
That's true too. But if you are Adkins and you want to go and make a, what do they call that? Like a campaign. Mm-hmm. If you want to go on some new campaign for this new product that you've developed, why wouldn't you try to, especially if they're willing to accept it? So now the question is, why did Forever 21 allow them to company their clothing with this? I just don't understand why it's a bad thing to advocate for positive health. Now, I don't want to pivot into this quite yet because this is going to be probably the thick of our conversation now that the Rethink Tank is back and stronger than ever. But before we take it to the dark corners of this earth, how do you have a pandemic that goes on for over a year, shakes the world, businesses failed, families shaken forever, and we go, well, the African-American community is the most vulnerable because we've allowed ourselves to build cultures that made them the fattest. Whoa. There's two major problems with what you said. The fact that you've singled out this group, and I just don't understand why the Democrats don't sit back and realize how much they are belittled as a people by the Democrats. But that's neither here nor there. So that's the first problem with that statement. And the second half is, if health is the issue, why didn't the CDC do one publication advocating for better health practices? We put a mask on your face, even when we told you it wasn't going to help. Then we changed our mind. Then that same clown finds a way to advocate that you need to have 2 masks.
Time out. Did you hear when they asked how much of his party is actually vaccinated, Dr. Fauci? I'm not sure. He's like, it could be somewhere around 60%. Somebody needs to fact check me on that. But if you're not coming out going 100%,
right,
100% of my party, and you're pushing this, that for me is a little sketchy. You know?
Yeah. So we cannot find ourselves down this road quite yet because it's a long one. It's a long one.
You're the conductor.
No, not even that, dude. Fauci is going to be a major pillar in this. But health, man, why have we waged a war? If there is a war in the arena of health, why is it against skinny culture, diet culture, taking care of yourself? Why is the war against bettering ourselves, and we are pushing for McDonald's man titties? Like, why are we so backwards? And so back to the Lizzo point, right? You had the Adkins diet bars. I don't know why Forever 21 should be ashamed for just saying we advocate health and we support those that care about it, and we advocate for this. Then you had on the podcast, we talked about Leah Michaels. Let me just make sure that's her first name. Something Michaels from The Biggest Loser. Yep, Leah. No. Sorry, Nenad.
No worries.
I just don't want to say the name wrong. Something Michaels from The Biggest Loser. Jillian Michaels. Sorry.
Jillian.
So we talked about Jillian Michaels. Here's a woman who built her career on The Biggest Loser, which was one of the biggest shows at the time on CBS or whatever it's on. Who cares? Anyway, NBC. So she's one of the biggest stars. This launches her career. Now she's a huge fitness personal trainer, fitness star. Mm-hmm. She has her own line of
fitness clothes, yeah.
Fitness clothes and like protein and stuff. Like,
oh, really? Supplements.
Supplements.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's the word I was fishing for. She has a huge line of supplements, and she was on The View, or this was, podcasts ago, like almost a year ago. And she's on The View or one of those shows, and she's just like, I love Lizzo's music, and I think she's great at what she does, but I just don't think that we need to advocate for that type of lifestyle. It just isn't a good one. Mm-hmm. And I think I think it's a lie saying that this is a good lifestyle that we should push. And
that's an important word, though. The lifestyle is key, right? Because appearance is the focus. But guys, man, it's the lifestyle that's
to the point. If I put you in an Amish family, I put you in the military, someone that instilled in you to take this serious, that knitting with your cats. How we built a delusion that sitting at home knitting, petting your cat gets you the same physique that Jillian Michaels gets working her ass off. The fact that we have this disillusion that no, this is the way I'm supposed to be. Had I had Jillian Michaels' body chemistry, but knitted scarves and played with cats, I would still end up looking like her. No, that's not her body chemistry. She has to work for that. We also had another time on here, we had a video, I'm going to put a clip in here, of Lizzo trying to get on a jet ski. It was hilarious. What makes us all turn on the television and ooh and ah over LeBron James is the fact that none of us are a LeBron James. So everybody that we put on a pedestal in Hollywood and in music and everything is skinny because it isn't easy to look like that, and that's what makes it unique. The uniqueness is the fact that we're all going through the McDonald's drive-thru and all you're eating is kale salads to look the way you do, and a lot of us, even when we get skinny, we still don't look like name her, whoever it is. Pick your you're not going to look like Selena Gomez even when you drop the 50 pounds.
So I think that's why she's found her niche, though.
That's it.
She gets to appeal to the
Well, she gets to speak to the girl that gets anxiety getting on a scale.
She gets that niche specifically because she is as talented as she is. So the door is open with her talent. But how she has her foot standing there is with her appearance and with the platform that she's using. So, I'm not trying to discount her talent, but I do think that what makes her unique, her corner, is her being the whole,
that, and that's why she can't lose weight. Yeah. She's got to stay unhealthily obese. But again, we got sidetracked. I want you guys to see this woman struggle. This speaks to why this isn't what we should have yes, all Americans are fat and eating McDonald's, but this is why this probably isn't the best thing. If you can't get back on a jet ski or out of the water,
just like pesticides. Wanna know who I am, bitch, they call me clean. Bitch, I feel like 50 like it's mini. Speakers up, listen to the fucking.
This is probably the most exercise she's had. Bro, when you're pulling yourself, are you not embarrassed? I'm embarrassed for you.
I don't want.
God, I hope she is.
I don't want this to come off as we're attacking her for her weight because I'm sure she is embarrassed and that.
I'm embarrassed of myself.
But the thing is, however, just think about it because she can't feel good knowing that she's embarrassed. She can't feel good. However, knowing that she is getting this money and getting this attention because she is as big as she is, what is she supposed to do then?
Boom.
Lose weight because because we're she must be embarrassed. She's making money.
Boom.
Off of this and everything else that she's doing.
That's why it's hard to find empathy. I come off so crass and callous, but it's because you are making millions. You are making more in one concert than somebody makes in their entire lifespan, in a lot of Americans. And it's because you're living this unhealthy lifestyle and you're projecting it to be a good thing. That's the problem.
You could say the same thing. Just to play devil's advocate, you could say the same thing about someone with an eating disorder.
I was about to say a Victoria's Secret model.
Super skinny, you're trying to purport this lifestyle of being super
That's
skinny.
A fantastic point.
You're walking on the runway this is I only have 2 chips and some lettuce a day.
So anyway, it's just a funny clip of Lizzo's inability to get on a jet ski. And we got on this whole conversation. And my friend who was a fan of Lizzo was trying to advocate with don't be mean, I feel bad for her, everything else. It's I'm not trying to be mean though. I'm not doing this maliciously. I dislike her. I love her music, everything else. This is funny. One, just in general, but two, it's you put yourself in this position, and then I guarantee because you this is going to lead me to my final point, which is the Adele point. But when you have somebody like Lizzo, whose identity isn't her music, isn't her skill, as much as even more so, it's being an icon for fat people. It's being this symbol. Well, I guarantee you, once you start touring and you're spending every night exercising, working your ass off in front of thousands of people, you probably have to eat an entire cake every evening to keep up this persona. Because the second you get skinny, you're damned by your fans because of the culture you built transitioning to now the Adele point, which is they've waged war against Adele because all she did was self-care.
Yep, and Jonah Hill, right?
And Jonah Hill.
You're not as funny now. It's you kidding me, man? Come on. The guy wants to get better in this specific way. Applaud him. If you're looking for an advocate of a different lifestyle, look to yourself. Be an advocate for that if you really believe in it. But this person felt like his mental health or her mental health would be improved by simply taking the time to work out or find their personal process, right? And now I feel like it's turned the tide for Jonah Hill, at least. Like, now they're giving him a lot more respect. I see, on social media, they're constantly applauding him for it. And honestly, hats off to him and anybody who's just challenging themselves enough. Like, find your process and dedicate to it. The results will come. The results are just, hey, here's a sticker, man, for the day. You feel good about yourself today, continue on.
Yeah,
right?
And again, it propels you into tomorrow. The waking up with the Oreos tummy full of, feeling sick because you ate too many Oreos last night, snowballs into you having a late morning, being a little lazy.
Yeah. Now that
snowballs.
Just to play devil's advocate on the Adkins bar, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what the hell's one bar gonna do for me, right?
It's to make you realize, just like, why does whey protein make it taste like chocolate milkshake? Because we still need to entice you somehow, Tubby, because you ain't picking it up
true.
naturally.
We like flavors.
Dude, I learned that one of their body armor, that like drink,
Yeah.
that thing has more sugar in it than like a kid's juice. It was like 100 and whatever grams of sugar.
Like Gatorade.
Or it was a
right?
pop. It was just as much as a pop,
Yeah.
more than a Sprite. It was like, Sprite was like 120, this thing was 140, something crazy. And you're just like, this is supposed to be your sports drink? So again,
Ridiculous.
and that's your sports drink. So we've convinced ourselves that to be the most at your physical peak in an athletic setting, drink sugar pop.
And honestly, it's like, hey, if you're doing like one of those ultra marathons, you're at like 80 miles, that might be the best thing for you to drink. You need some sugar.
That's true. Sugar is,
But
in that regard.
everything's in the details, right?
Strawberries. What if you just had a few strawberries before your run?
You're right. You're right. You know they'll take those packets of gels. Now those, if you were to be sitting there watching TV and you eat one of those, not good for you. Bunch of carbs, bunch in there. But if you're about to go actually burn a lot of energy, there you go. Right. So it's all in the details. It's all I keep saying it. I don't know. I'm like I've got a certain breadth of knowledge with this stuff, but just skimming the surface. But if your process is orientated around it, the rest comes, right?
Oh, 100%. So then you've got someone like Adele who gets trashed for getting in shape. Like, just self-care, taking care of herself.
It's not fair. Not fair.
Not fair. And it's just backwards. It's just actually a mental virus we as a society have just accepted.
There you go. Perfect.
But yeah, it's a parasite. That's what I was going for. It's a mental parasite we as a society have just like allowed. And so the final step of all of this is I've made jokes, I've made comments, I've directly attacked this, but I've also been in the heart of my battle with my own weight. I'm in law school working till 2 a.m. I am in a competitive environment where everybody's cutting each other at the knees, and it's this war, and it's a miserable time of my life, and the only way to get through it is to take an hour at the end of the night, even if it's at 2 a.m, to play Xbox with my friends. And I'm doing, unhealthy things, maybe having a drink or something, and I'm having some munchies, so I'm eating way too late. Mm-hmm. And I just watched myself blow up like a balloon. My knees were killing me because I wasn't moving. And it's like, again, I exercised less because it started to hurt. It hurt my knees. And see how it snowballs one way or it snowballs the other. And, while I was having that struggle, one thing that I never missed was my awareness of this, right? That this is something that I need to battle. And hopefully when I find myself in a better place, I'll be able to take it on. But, yeah, go ahead.
How are you doing this? What's your process?
Well, so to get to that, again, back to getting some vitamin D, getting out, getting moving. Yeah. But you find yourself in this rut. But while I'm this chubby kid making, I can go, listen, don't get offended over an Adkins diet bar. Go for a run. Because there's plenty of people who fit in those jeans, earned the right to fit comfortably in those jeans by working. And they're not offended. Only you are. And it's not that you're offended at the Adkins diet bar, but you're offended at what the Adkins diet bar makes you confront about yourself.
Well said.
Sorry. So when I sit here as a fat person and go, I don't care. Like, this is bad. Eat the Adkins diet bar. Go for a run if it offends you. If I go, yeah, it's funny watching her get on a jet ski, stop eating an entire cake, and it won't be funny watching you get on a jet ski. I'm making all these comments. It's not so here's the narrative on today's society. Because I'm part of the victimized class, it's okay. I get off unscathed, like water off the back of a duck. But the reason I'm going to make these shirts that say I work hard to make Lizzo jokes offensive is because, getting to Nenad's question, I've been working my ass off to get back in shape and to be skinny for the sexy viewers who want to fall in love with me. And the way to reach that was to get on my grind. And it's so fun just watching it melt off you. The new 21 Pilots album is Serenity when I put it on and run through the woods. And
you went for a run today? You said,
every day,
right?
dude. I don't miss it, especially if I can in the morning. It's just, again, like I said, serenity. Mm-hmm. And I am on the cusp of making Lizzo jokes coming from me offensive. Before, I was part of the victimized class. Now, I'm going to be one of the oppressors looking at you with your Big Mac, and it's going to be a big deal. So they're going to come after me. So if you want to get on this grind, if you're working hard, if you're testing yourself and you're always working, and you want to support the Rethink Tank, I mean, come on. Sexy signs like this and hard-ass equipment just doesn't come out of nowhere. So if you want to show us support, if you're liking our conversation so far, get excited for the shirts that are going to be coming out sometime this summer, so as we can all grind this summer to get in our sexy shapes and make Lizzo jokes offensive. But I'm excited, man.
Well set up. I like it.
Yeah, but yeah, dude, I'm loving it. The sun's outside. You know, we're finally getting vitamin D that we've been longing for way too long.
Fresh air, finally.
Fresh air. And again, falling in love with the process, dude. I don't care what I look like in the morning. It is such a bonus getting that morning skinny and you like, oh man, yesterday was worth it.
And there's just something about everything else is a plus when it comes down to like physically feeling like you've exhausted yourself in a positive manner. I mean, there's a difference between feeling tired from inactivity and feeling tired from overactivity, or call it good activity. That's a very fulfilling place to be. It's almost a tranquil place.
Wait, how about this, though? You raise a great point. How crazy is it that, like, one of the harder, I think it's a harder tired to fight when everything's clogged with the tar of McDonald's French fries.
Yes.
And dude, 4 o'clock hits and you can't. How about this? On the journey, I'd go to work, and at 4 o'clock, I would need a nap. In law school, I would need a nap. I'd come home, it'd be 2 o'clock, I'd take a nap. 4 o'clock, I'd get up and work till 2 a.m. Well, why did I need that nap? Yes, it was mentally exhausting. And even coming home from work, yes, I am drained. Got up early, everything else. But also, I had a McDonald's breakfast sandwich. I clogged myself up. I, had a bag of chips for lunch, clogged myself up. I mean, these oils, dude, I learned, you go to a Japanese restaurant, and they take like the metal salt shaker and it's like, this Japanese chef, he goes, what is in this? Goes to every person on the counter. Salt? No. Pepper? No. Garlic seasoning? No. Nobody had an idea. He goes, it's MSG.
Quit playing.
Dude.
He said that?
They're using MSG like it's salt, which is a key ingredient in Chinese food.
Really?
In like these Asian... And again, that's why I'm addicted to it like crack. Kung Pao obsessed. I am literally like a crack addict when it comes to my General Tso's chicken. And, dude, it is amazing. I'm juggling multiple plates at once right now in terms of ideas in my head. But, like, now that I'm in shape, if I go back to that favorite meal that was my comfort food that I'd have 3 times a week, I have it as a treat. And it makes me sick. What does that say?
Your gut just changed, right?
Dude, I had to go for a run today. I woke up at 7 and went for a run. I was the whole way because yesterday was my mom's birthday, and I had some chocolate mousse cake, and I got her Mally's, so I got myself a little piece of Mally's too. So I had chocolate, which is my addiction. Like that is the thing that
I love chocolate
is my kryptonite. And I'm sitting here, my God, dude. Why did we have to go until 10? It became like 10:30. I'm sitting there like, I couldn't stay off the toilet. I know this is getting too vulgar for everybody, but also like, that's what I'm living. It's like, I go back, I resort to my bad habits once.
I do this as well.
And it just crushes me now.
Yeah. And it's overeating. It's like,
that does
it's
it
almost, I've realized if you're not eating to fuel, you'll eat out of boredom. And that's a dangerous slope. Especially when you're sitting there on let's say you're in for the night on a Saturday or Friday, very easy to go overboard. And not to mention the actual reaction you get from sugar is you want more of it. There's a reason why Coca-Cola has been around for so long and absolutely killing it in the beverage game and will continue paying those dividends is because you crave it. You create that cycle itself. And then once your body gets rid of it, it's not the same reaction. It's like stopping drinking after getting a tolerance and then going back to it.
Right.
It's the same thing with anything else. Moderation is key. That's how you could enjoy anything. Too much of anything is a little overboard. You could always find that law of diminishing return. There's a point you hit. Always.
Well, dude, it's just so funny to me. Like I was going for my run and just kind of coming up with an analogy in my head, and it's like we know in this not enough people know or have dealt with the study of metaphysics, but like part of its study is the relationship between your soul and your body. Is it connected? Is your soul in your body? Is your soul outside your body? Control. It's there's these different theories, and you wrestle with all of them, and at the heart of all of it, regardless of that relationship, there is this understanding that they are separate. And your body is like your spaceship. Like you are this entity controlling this ship, and you are only as good and effective and here as your spaceship is.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
your vehicle. It's your chassis.
Exactly. And what happens when you start, instead of just gasoline, you have impurities in it? As a kid, if you really wanted to
Food is fuel.
mess with someone, what did you put sugar in their gas tank and it stopped working?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're putting sugar in your gas tank. And it's funny that it's quite literally the same thing.
This has been ringing in my head. They say they did a control study where they had a group of middle-aged men drink 1 can of pop every day for a month. And the rate that their testosterone dropped was like over 50% as a result. Not to mention, we briefly skimmed this. Historically, if you were to look back at your ancestors, your strength level compared to them, I think is men today, the strongest men in the world now are within the grouping. There's going to be outliers. There's people like the giant from Game of Thrones, right? Yeah. There's outliers. But that group, that control group, we're as strong as prehistoric females were, right? Yeah, you did tell me. And that's just the way that genetics work, but nonetheless, like our diet affects us big, and then you have men's bodies forming into dad bods and all this stuff, and it's all diet based, like
and activity.
Right.
Physical activity
both,
as well.
Both. And it ties into the work-life balance and the culture we have wherever you're at. But you can look at the healthiest countries in the world, and they have a good balance of diet and a focus on being active and not in an unhealthy way, just shooting for sustainability and performance-based health, not result and appearance-based, performance-based. When you're 60 or to 80 years old, do I feel okay bending down? Can I hold my grandchild? That's how your performance may change later. Right now, if you're in your 20s at a specific age group, you should challenge yourself to be in the upper percentile of whatever it is, because that's a general threshold for your full 100% potential. Sure. Perfection's never you'll never attain perfection, but the process for getting there, it's in your hands every day, right? You can acquire it on that little bit of divine every single day.
Well, you know what, dude? It snowballs always, one way or the other. That's the theme of today's podcast because, like you said, what are you going to do today? It's your bet, and you should wake up. Give yourself. And again, I've seen strides from where I was when I went to go take the bar for in February. That was at my worst, COVID worst. It's only been 3 months. It's melting off. Mm-hmm. But again, what it takes is you wait. In law school, our legal methods teacher taught us this theory, and it was just more of like a concept, bird by bird.
Okay.
She had a little brother that procrastinated on his bird project, and he had to do like a segment on each bird, and he procrastinated until the day it was due, and then there was no way he was going to get it done in time. And so he's freaking out. He's overwhelmed with the fact that there's no way he's going to get this all done in time. So his parent, the dad, looked at him and said, well, a little too late. The best you could do is take it bird by bird. Like, don't look at the grand scheme and get overwhelmed by all the birds you have to get done.
Well said.
Just get to it bird by bird. And that's how I think of it. And that's how I've taken that concept and really lashed onto it and applied it in many facets.
Brick by brick, right?
Brick by brick, but it's the same concept, 100%. It's the same concept. And that's what it is for fitness, too. For me, it's I look and I go, I just got to win today. And again, so give yourself your Saturdays, your Friday nights. Like, if you won Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, yeah, you can have a meal Friday. You can have your drinks Friday. Also exercise Friday. Now it's not even a deficit. It's just a no loss day. No gain, no loss. Mm-hmm. Saturday can be the same. I mean, this is a lifestyle forever. This isn't I'm just trying to get skinny by August and then I'm getting fat in the winter again. This is going to be me moving forward forever. So don't beat yourself up. Don't make it miserable. And just win today.
Yeah, 1% daily. Or the eighth biggest wonder in the world, Einstein said, compounding interest.
Really? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so it's like, it's 1% every day. You're going to have a much better result than going plus 5%, minus 16 the next day. It's the consistency that plays a part. The only way you can be consistent is to have love and passion for whatever you do on a daily basis. We talked about this, and I repeat it all the time. I'm very annoying with this if you're friends or family of me. My favorite definition of genius is the ability to replicate the same emotion on a daily basis. Ooh. Right? So if you are on a love, call it math, because we tie geniuses to math very often. If we love that subject every single day, you can study it to a genius level talent, just constantly being able to put in the work. So if I wake up, I'm excited about what I do every single day, and that passion is there, whatever benchmarks will always be attainable. And not that you're shooting for it, you just love what you're doing, plain and simple, right? Way easier to keep that weight off or keep money in your pocket when you're doing what you love.
100%. So this segment became pretty preachy and long.
Yes,
on my
very
part.
Philosophical.
I talked more than anything. So I'm going to need to get you to talk more. And this back half is going to be about the waking of the world. But I want to leave you with I've literally had this on my desktop for over a year because this is freaking ridiculous. Yeah. And I think this is a perfect opportunity to finally get this in the podcast, finally get it off of my desktop. Mm-hmm. And I think I have the right person to help give me their input on it.
Yeah, I would love to.
So a friend that I went to college with, and she was in great shape and she was very attractive in college, but freshman year. But as the 15 hits you, and then you snowball and you have unhealthy lifestyles. And we were all a giant group of friends, so we all lived the same terrible lifestyle. So we all kind of saw ourselves going down the same snowball path. But But now she's just gone off the deep end, and it's her truth, right? And she's kind of the one I have in mind where it's like, if I were to take this person and put her in any other lifestyle, any other family, any other strict discipline, she doesn't look the way she does. So it isn't your truth, baby cakes. This isn't the way you were supposed to look. It's the lifestyle you chose. Mm-hmm. Now, the sad aspect to this is she so proudly posted on her social media a card that she was given by her counselor. Okay? So this card, it's a business card, and she takes it with her to the doctor. Okay? The front side of the card reads, "Please don't weigh me unless it's really medically necessary. If you really need my weight, please tell me why so that I can give you my informed consent." The back side of the card is, why? Because most health conditions can be addressed without knowing my weight. 1. 2, when you focus on my weight, in bold, I get stressed, and that's not healthy. 3, weighing me every time I come in for an appointment and talking about my weight like it's a problem perpetuates, in bold, weight stigma, a known and serious health risk. And 4, I pursue healthy behaviors regardless of my weight status, which isn't true because you wouldn't be your weight status if that was an accurate statement. Health at every size.
And this is
a gift to a doctor.
To a doctor.
When the doctor's supposed to, the only line of defense, the only backboard to keeping you in check, it's my truth, baby case.
Yeah, but there's another thing to keep in mind here. There's only a few roles in your life you're given an opportunity not to, for sure, not have a yes man in your corner. 1, your doctor, your priest, and your parents, and your lawyer. My man, you're dead on.
Your lawyer is going to be your yes man. That's why he didn't say that, because they are snakes.
But regardless, you need to have people in your life that will tell you what you need to hear. If you have a guy, women out there, if you have a guy that seems to like everything you like and never disagrees with you, that's like a cat fitting into a vase. you get out of here. Like, they are the goals and intentions might not be aligned. Dialogue, where you're constantly questioning, rethinking your own perspective, is key. If your doctor is there as a litmus test for you and your persona that you've built, because a lot of it's personifying an image, right? If you are using your doctor as a, what do they call it? When you're creating an environment for somebody to continuously do the same behavior, it's like you're inhibiting them, right?
Yes.
If you're doing that with these confidants in your life, you are shattering the framework of guidance that you might have. If
they don't want guidance, that's the key to it.
That's it.
I'm shattering the bumpers because I don't want to be bumped.
It's hard to even think about that because I really
because you're always adapting.
I look for it.
Bingo. You look for it.
My thought process is that I'm like a mile wide river that's like an inch thick, right? Like an inch deep. I have so much to learn that I need to find trustworthy, reliable sources that I could bounce. Now, let's say I go to my doctor and my doctor, this might be a different dialogue, but let's say you have trouble with attention and they immediately want to prescribe a drug, Adderall, Vyvanse, whatever it might be. And you're sitting there thinking to yourself, well, what can I get rid of in my life? Maybe alcohol late at night. What's actually if those questions aren't there, that's when you could start pushing your doctor back. It's like, hey, I need you to dive into the details of my life, right?
Yeah.
Now, I get her therapist or counselor said that. Maybe the overall her mental health is that much more of a focus right now that they need to get her to a good place.
But can we agree that your mental health is going to be clear? Again, think of tar in the pipes, man. Your frame of mind, your outlook on life, everything is going to be cleaner and sharper the second you get the tar out of the pipes.
Yeah, and you're meant to move.
You're meant to move, man.
Yeah.
Knitting, and again, we got to get to these evil people in China, dude. But like at the end of the day, I don't trust any. I'm looking at what camera one's my camera. All right, listen. If I'm swiping through these apps and one of your pictures of yourself is of your cat, you have toxic plasmosis. Look it up. Like 60 to 70% of us have it. And again, you're fat and lazy because you are obsessed with petting your cat, which is an illness. We've allowed you, there is an entire industry around getting your mental frame broken and being infected by this toxic plasma. The obsession over this satanic animal that is the cat is dumbfounding to me. And again, it's all of the same mill, man. The same person who sits at home is the same one obsessed with their cat, is the same one fighting for you. Listen, the reason why you think my lifestyle is bad is because of the Abercrombie bag. No. Comes back to the beginning. The only reason that Abercrombie bag has any power to begin with is because it's what we innately, nature, crave. That's just what it is. And so it doesn't matter how many of you there are, I'll die alone. It could be a world of you. And again, this comes back to like with gays and everything else. I have had so many friends that are gay, and I look at them and I go, if I lived in a world that was gay and they said I needed to sleep with a dude, I would break. So I would never want to live in a world where I tell you, you have to sleep with a woman. Like, that is not a world I will live in. Yeah, I will never put that on you because of the hell it would put me in, right?
It's their own personal experience, right? It's
and again, it's perspective. I don't know your perspective, so I'm not stepping on it. And again, if the way you love a man is the same way I love a woman, I would never in a world infringe on that. So applying that same logic, in a world that is all fat people, I die miserably alone. I don't conform. I mean, again, what got me in shape but the fact that the crazy girl that I was getting it with got pregnant and moved away, and now I'm on apps with fat people. I don't want that. So I'm going to get in better shape. If there's this thing that I am attracted to and I'm not attracting it, I better figure it out. I'm not going to blame the Abercrombie bag. I'm going to blame myself. I'm going to fix myself. I'm going to get to where I want to be.
Yeah. So, and not dumb down your standards, right? So if you hold yourself to a high standard.
Which people do.
Yeah, and you should. I think.
No, I'm saying which people dumb down their standards. They definitely come down. It's because that's easier. I'm swiping left and I'm getting it on the fatties, but you know what? That's easier than going for a run at 7 a.m. every day. So I'm just going to do that.
And we talked about this a little bit before. We've had some good dialogues about this. And you mentioned this, making effort cool again, right?
Yeah.
Just getting to a point
the shirt.
where it shouldn't be weird to try. Like it's like, hey, if you're starting a podcast now, I remember one of the first dialogues we had about the podcast. I was so impressed that you were 50 episodes in. You know how many podcasts start and they die after 3 episodes? You're putting in the work.
Going from a basement to an apartment bedroom.
You've earned this, man. You've earned this here, right? Like you're doing the process. You're doing the work, right? And taking it's like giving something a concerted effort. It's compounding interest. It's constantly there. If you do something for 10 years, all right, you'll never be perfect, but you'll get damn good at it, right? Do this for 10 years. Oh my gosh, can't imagine where we're at, right? And keeping the same energy, genius level energy on your craft, right? This is where we get. If you have a standard of health that you want to reach, you make the time for it. You get the opportunity. You don't have to do any of it. You get to.
Dude, how about this one? I not to cut you off, but again, to the getting weighed at the doctors. Nenad's always been the one that would beat all of our asses growing up, going through puberty and everything. I'm not literally. I mean, physically, Nenad was the one that we played football together, everything else. I will tell you, though, one of the things, and again, I could blame the world, or I could recognize it was a hole that I put myself in. But one of the struggles that I can relate to with this counselor card is there were some times I'd go to the doctor and I'm like, yeah, bitch, let's put the number in the machine. Let's see it. And let me know how far I've gone down. And they'd be like, ding, 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 ding. Way to go. You did better this time. And then there's times where I'm like, oh, I don't want to go to the doctor because I know exactly where this is taking me. And let's go. I went to the doctor right when I got home from law school. So a year, last May, And he's like, ooh, it's one of those like, ooh, dude, where'd you get yourself? But then I had to have another doctor's appointment, and fortunately, I missed it because of whatever reason. I think I had work or something else, and I was like, oh, that one was going to embarrass me. And so again, I hated getting on the scale, but I also hated getting on the scale not because of the scale, not because of diet culture, but because of what it made me confront about myself. That's why I wanted to hide from it. And so when I finally am confronted with it, yes, it hurts, but also when those lows are low, we cannot take that. It is irrefutable to the nature of the beast that it wasn't instilled in me by Abercrombie bags that made those highs so high. And when I went back just recently, maybe a month ago, if not 2 weeks ago, going like, yeah, let's go, baby. I know where we were last year. And then they're like, wow. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm saying the same thing.
Check
I'm
me
putting
out.
pants on and I'm wow.
Yep.
And so it's one of those like, the only reason you need that card is to hide from the shadows of yourself. Hide from the demons you are afraid of inside you.
Yeah, yeah. And that truth is self-perceived, right? What do we know for sure? Occam's razor comes down to, I think, therefore I am. My own consciousness is all I can for sure guarantee. If I'm unhappy or I'm not answering that call, it's like the Batman symbol in the sky. You're calling to yourself constantly. Be the superhero you want to be, right? And it's just try your damn best because you can do that. For me, I could tell the energy that comes off you the last couple months with the running. Specifically, you found a passion for trail running, right?
Right.
And that takes a lot of work. That's elevation changes. That's not sitting on a treadmill, right? And there's a lot of positives you have to being out there, but you're paying your dues. There's a reason why you can sit here. And now you're skimming the surface, man. You might already be making those jokes offensive.
Yeah, already, dude. They're
just,
already
just off of
offensive.
your effort. Just off of
dude.
your effort.
So hold on, before we dude, we're gonna give this literally a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and we're gonna just cut it because we got to get to the deep stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
And I want to go pee.
Yeah,
but
that works.
speaking of physicality, I'm running trails, but Nenad's doing like the real gridiron, right? Like you're going to strong style. You're working with your brother, Alexa
Mecca.
Camur, who has a fight coming up June 14th, correct?
19th.
19th. All right. Big fight. His brother fights in the UFC. One of the things that I can't wait to ask him about, because now he'll be able to actually
Be in the corner.
Well, I want to know. His last fight was a COVID fight.
Yes.
In the creepy silence of no audience.
And this one still is.
What?
Yes.
Where's it at?
It's in Las Vegas, but all the fight night
Boo!
cards. Yep. They're waiting till 2022 for all the cards, the main cards.
Things have gotten back to normal so much here in Ohio that it's
You're
just
shocked the outside.
Yeah,
of
they
it.
got Indians games back to full capacity, no mask, and you've got the UFC who just did it in Florida.
Yeah.
No problem. And what was it, Houston?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, what they're doing, and they're on the forefront, right? We're obviously going to see a lot more NFL games and everything. But if you're in Ohio, and this is for Canadian listeners, I apologize for what you're going through in Canada. But in Ohio, where maybe 10% of people are wearing masks.
Yeah, maybe.
When I go into a place,
and the ones that are doing it for political reasons,
Yes.
not for any other.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, so just wrapping up then, because again, that's one of the things I wanted to post to your brother is how things are changing. And again, I don't want to, one long road would be that I'd love to know kind of how things have changed at Strong Style over the evolution at the gym.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
guarantee it. But since we're kind of low on time, I just want to know, before the podcast, when we were kind of talking about these health things, you were saying how you've had your periods where you've gotten maybe a little fluffier, or you've gotten way too lean, and you've lost more muscle, and you've seemed to kind of where you're at this stage found the Goldilocks of your
absolutely.
system. Can you give us an idea? Just briefly give us an idea of kind of what you learned from that process and where you're at now, and what we can take away from that.
For sure. So, I mean, much like everybody else, I've played conventional sports growing up, basketball, soccer, American football, rugby when I was in college a little bit. I found MMA in high school. Shout out to Jacob Rice. We used to do jiu-jitsu like on his trampoline, and we would just practice jujitsu moves that we'd see on YouTube, right? So I found that love on my own, checked out Strong Style, went away to college, and my brother found the gym on his own as well. So I come back, and he's just a stud, right? 16 years old, itching to get a fight in, scrapping, naturally just a hard worker. His dedication's the biggest factor. So the combination of already loving the art of jiu-jitsu, of Muay Thai, of boxing, because there is an art to it. There is a lot of psychological play. There's a lot of technique-driven things. So if you're sitting here thinking, I could never fight or what, it's all technique. You can train yourself to do anything. Now, are you physically predisposed to have a great gas tank or anything else physically? Maybe not, but you 100% can attain the skill set. So that was always, just something I was attracted to with it. And I mean, being completely honest, you go in, roll 2 hours on a mat versus lifting weights. Crazy difference. I'm shedding weight. I'm putting muscle on me that I'm using, and it's a different level of strength.
Yeah, different muscles, right? Like
absolutely.
That a machine ain't gonna give you.
Right. And again, like that process of just Tuesdays I'm doing jiu-jitsu, Mondays I might hit bag, might do some exercises like for joint work, lower body, knee over toe guy. This is a new thing I came across, ATG program. And that's because I had 2 knee surgeries, and I had a lot of friends who thought, like, after my 2 surgeries that I'll never hit that same level. I am in better shape than I ever was in any previous year. Like I said it to you before, pick any age from infancy till now, I could kick my own ass. Not in just, I'm talking even sprints. I'm faster than I probably was in high school, and I ran track. I've got more power than I did, and I refuse to subscribe to that number of age, and I am way too in love with my process to let myself be derailed, right?
Yes.
And when you're enjoying something enough and have a passion for it, it just keeps you in a good mindset, good place, and it's a good reciprocating energy. It's my place where I can release. It's my meditation. It's my way to constantly be challenging myself. And then when you get out of the gym, all the life challenges just seem a little smaller, right?
Oh, big
Not
time.
to mention, I don't compete competitively, right? I don't go out in front of 5,000 to 28,000 people like my brother and some of the other guys at the gym. But being around that, you get a taste of what it means to be pushing that 1 percentile. And you are who you hang out with, and naturally that crowd has rubbed off on me in a great way. And, I'm just thankful to constantly be put in check on what I think is proper in terms of physically becoming your best version. And it's an unattainable goal for perfection, but damn, I'm going to try my best to get there in terms of just performing my butt off.
Fall in love with that journey.
I could go all day for that, just because it's a place that's in my lowest points. Like after my knee surgery, if you met me during that time, I had a knee surgery, went through 6 months of physical therapy, trained, was doing the whole bit, and then tore it again, both with basketball, tore my graft, got another knee surgery. I was told that I'm going to always have an issue. I sat there in my room, and I remember I'd watch Cavs games, and I'd do 2 hours of physical therapy every day. If there was plans to go do something, like my friends were asking to do, I can't until I'm done with my physical therapy.
Cool.
If I'm doing physical therapy and there's like alcohol involved later, I'd have to put, like, I know my muscles and my body won't react. I'll get inflamed from that. So I took my physical therapy, and I treated myself like I was a Browns player. I don't care that other people don't see me as that. I looked at myself as a top percentile athlete, and I wanted to bounce back that way. So I did that both times. Both times my work has paid dividend, and my consistent preventative maintenance has honestly strengthened me past where I was. I found gaps of weakness that I didn't know were there, and reasons why it even happened in the first place. And a lot of it's like lifting culture now. We're very front orientated. We like how we look from the front.
Do nothing for our sides
and
or
the back of our legs, right? Yeah. And just a fun fact, and this is just to spark the thought for everyone. In the U.S., you go to a park, you see people walking forward. If you see somebody walking backwards, that's weird. In China, it's more common to see people walking backwards simply because of what it does for your joints. Takes away knee pain and prevents any issues with your Achilles and patella tendon, right? So that's something that we think is weird, but internationally, they have lower average cost of surgery because of these lifestyles. In the US, we have the highest cost of surgery on average from any other country in the world. Look at how many ACL surgeries you're seeing all the time. We're in the 21st century. We should be getting better, not regressing with how our bodies react, right? So I think the knowledge is out there. Anybody who says, hey, you're never going to be the same, that's BS. With work and consistent ethic, it gets there, right?
Dude, that's what it takes, though. Consistency. Fall in love with the journey because it's a long one.
Yeah.
And that's all you got.
Yep. I'm very passionate about it.
And at the end of the day, even when it comes to losing weight, getting in better shape, all of these things, attaining your goals, building a podcast, even Joe Rogan, when you get the $300 million deal for Spotify, you never sit back and you go, I made it. It's over. It's never over. So understand, in our mind, we're picturing a race, and we're going, I just got to get to the finish line. At the end of the day, there is no finish line.
It's death.
So fall in love with running.
Yeah, guess what your finish line is? Death. That's
Bingo.
it.
Bingo.
What are you going to...
So again, think of it. There's people who you could either just keep running. Once you face that mortality and the reality of the situation, you can either just keep running and find all the virtues in that, or you could just cross your legs, take a seat, and pout.
Right. You have the choice.
And then you have a card that your counselor will give you that will justify and make you feel comfortable in that realm. That, it's justified that you feel and think that way. It's ridiculous. Anyway.
Good topic, though, man. I mean, it's something that needs to be talked about, and I think we need to have a more willing dialogue. Be willing to listen to people, because it's a shame when your friends can't speak their mind because they feel like they'll be judged for their opinion, right? I appreciate these dialogues because I feel like I can be myself with them, right, and share opinions and learn from you just as you might learn from me in some way. So it's the dialogue's got to be healthier. It's got to be a better understanding of the details. It's like, I'm unhealthy. Well, why? Always ask why. Let's get into the details, and instead of focusing on the negative, let's find a positive solution rather than letting the same spiral go on, right? And then if you don't take that solution, that's you versus you. That's on your conscience.
And we conclude with insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So just give us a quick potty break. We're going to snap into the next segment, and we're going to get going with the final hard-hitting truth with our demons over in China.
Perfect.
The middle camera stopped recording partially through this, and that is going to break my heart. Dude, I noticed partially in it that the camera screen went off, and it wasn't
went to sleep, right?
It wasn't recording anymore.
It wasn't?
I don't think so. So I got to look at
others.
Yeah, the other two cameras at least got us covered in that regard.
I should have checked the timeout. Like, it's probably like my camera where there's a timeout on it.
And it times out after recording.
It's a sleep feature or something.
So retarded. I'll have to.
It's so dumb, man.
Like I said, this is the first attempt at this bad boy. So
it's all right. I think the way it's set up, this almost takes it all away, right?
Yeah, I think that's the truth. All right, Nenad. So we're back, and what's great is we're back after a long break, and this was a road we were heading towards when I brought up that we took a strike for, Big Brother censoring us and everything else. And a lot has happened since the censorship and the Rethink Tank return. It's been a lot. We have a completely new president. I mean, literally the last time I was speaking on this microphone, we had an entirely different president. Now we have a carcass in a suit, and it's great. I mean, everybody went back to sleep. Triple Z. I like that. But I think it was because everybody was tired of being politically awake, and they just wanted to be able to go back to sleep. But let's talk about where we're at now.
Okay. Current state.
So there's these things like, you have people standing at the top of a mountain going, they have a pedophile island. And they go, you're a conspiracy theorist, you need your tinfoil hat, you're crazy, and we need to get rid of you. And then an entire election term later, literally 4 years later, there's a Netflix documentary, a Hulu documentary, and it's just common knowledge that, of course, there was a pedophile island. Everybody knows that. I mean, there was a Netflix documentary. So the question is,
and Dad, we think that's a one-off, right?
Right.
It's almost back to we don't want to know the truth. We know, but we don't want to know, right?
That's a great point.
I man, it's a tough subject because save the children, man. Bottom line, like it's not
what
about
this is all this for.
It's not about your ego with politics and what it may look like for who you voted. It's for the simple fact it's the children, man. They're born into this world innocent. Keep that way, right? Do not manipulate and take advantage of it and create systems of all right.
Now we're going down this road because we were going to get into Fauci and everything else, but you're right. The heart of all of this, the only reason somebody believes adrenochrome to begin with is because they care about kids and they know you clowns are up to some fishy shit. That's the end of it.
I get chills just when this dialogue comes up because I guess you can call it fortunate or unfortunate. I met a guy who was a moderator of the Pizzagate Reddit channel. And whenever you hear anything from anybody, especially too close to one side, you have to take it for a grain of salt. The level of detail. So many of us subscribe to a certain faith, maybe no faith at all. Regardless, there's traditions, guidelines, and approach to that. To be ignorant of the fact that people might subscribe to a faith and belief that isn't exactly good, it might quite frankly be evil, and to act like evil doesn't exist.
Why can we say the vast majority of humans believe in Christ, but we can't acknowledge that means that there's some people who believe in the anti of
God in general, no matter what faith.
If you believe in God, then that means there's an anti-God.
Yeah.
Every story of God means there's an anti-God. So if there are the vast majority of people that we know in a social setting that, praise the God, that means that there has to be at least one praising the anti-God, the opposite of. But neither here nor there.
I mean, we can even go. Let's go into it. Luciferianism. That's the belief that you are God. Very attractive. That's a very attractive thing. I'm my own destiny. Nothing's out of my own hands. It's a fine line. You take a specific idea from like the Christian faith. You are everything and nothing, right? Your perception is God's gift to you, right? And I could only say from one perspective of religion, right? But your consciousness, awareness, and presence as a human being is your gift of life, right? And you have that thought process and then the opposite of it, right? There's the belief, let's creative work, right? You can compare somebody who gets a lot of sleep, positive affirmation to create creative ideas. Then you have, imagine like a rock star who's 4 a.m. on a bender with cocaine and what fuels? Is it good or bad? There's a fuel for everything. And the devil's in the details with a lot of it, right? And, I lost my train of thought a little bit when it comes to the religious take.
Let me take you here. All right, so at the end of the day, when we know, if we could laugh off that there is some fishy stuff going on, documented on Netflix, right? Mm-hmm. When it gets to Netflix, that means it's beyond real. We know it's unavoidably real. The only reason we made a Netflix documentary was we needed to control the narrative, and there's no avoiding the fact that this exists anymore. Right. Sorry to break it to you. That's where we're at in today's world. So 800,000 plus children go missing a year in the United States, never be found again. Just think of that statistic.
And around world crises, right?
But wait, that's just the United States, though, right? And heavy trafficking comes out of countries like Honduras and where nobody's keeping tally on it. Nobody knows. It's just lost numbers,
Right?
And so when we say 800,000 plus, sometimes above 1 million kids go missing in the United States to never be that means it's separate from the statistic of kids that went missing and were found X amount of time down the road, missing. And then we find out about billionaires. Wait, with pedophile islands, how did he become a billionaire? Oh, he was given a $50 million house in New York City. What does he do? He's just given stuff.
Yeah, where's this money coming from?
You guys, when we went to go get our sexy Swenson burgers before we did this podcast, you were going to tell me something about Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
Tell me about Bill Clinton. And then I want to bring this back to the kids.
So this was just tied to where we're at with kind of the economy now, right? Like, so aside from, I mean, do we want to talk about 1998, how we moved everything to not in-house production, not domestic production, but we started pushing all companies to be sourcing with cheap labor in China specifically, and then we're looking. Fast forward 20 years, where are we at?
All right, wait. Let's take it even further. You've got Nike telling you that you're racist, that you should take your, excuse my language, but you should take your arms against your neighbor because the reason you're oppressed is because he hates you and your skin tone.
Yep.
But then they use slavery children, enslaved children in China to make you your tennis shoes at a 400% profit margin.
Crazy. And then one of your head people in the company is letting their son buy out half of inventory and start their own distribution.
That wasn't spoken on the podcast either because that happened right after that. Yeah, tell us about it, Nenad.
I mean, so background, I don't know her position, but some higher up within Nike.
She was like the CEO. She
or
was
VP
like,
or
yeah,
something.
That's it. She was way up there.
So basically they found out that her son was winning. I don't know how the system works.
No, he was just taking them. He was able to get access to the factory but they were like the limited edition shoes.
And buying them at cost. Everybody knows. So you're getting...
with her discount. That was it. He was using her discount, her positions discount to buy limited edition shoes. So again, there was limited number, everything else, limited release.
Guess how they caught him? He opened a warehouse because he needed more space for all his shoes. We're
talking tower, like mounds of Nike boxes.
People are shooting themselves, shooting other people for these shoes.
Right. Again, so let's go back to Nike somehow and voting with your dollars, voting with your views. I will never buy Nike again. Just like Gillette, they lost me too. Not getting down that road, but Nike lost me. Why? Because you're sitting here telling me I'm racist. You're sitting here causing all of this division and hate in our country. And then you're enslaving children in China and then also changing your Nike symbol to a rainbow. And I'm supposed to... The mixed signals, nothing is real. You're doing no substantial change. If you stood for gay rights, well, then you wouldn't supply and fund countries that are killing gays because they're Muslim, right? Mm-hmm. You wouldn't sit here and support China's enslavement of children. Oh, but and again, the profit margins at Nike are nauseously big, right? It's not like, well, we're just trying to catch a profit. We're just trying to catch like $10 a shoe. It's like you're getting multiple, like 500%.
The beast has to be fed, right? And at the end of the day, like you're consciously deciding as a consumer to take your dollar elsewhere. Back to the dollar point, and I love it because it's very, very important to know. For no specific reason, I guess one community that's very good with their dollar is the Jewish community. And people can harp them for all they want, but the average, I think this was like an article, I think it was like in the 80s that they posted. The average dollar earned into a Jewish hands, in the Jewish community, transacts 17 times before it leaves the community. One more time. 17 times. African-American community, less than once. So you're sharing your dollar. I'm hoping now with what we're seeing, people are supporting like communal businesses way more, but crazy to think about. So if you're sitting there and there's a Jewish marketplace and one that's owned by, call it a Giant Eagle or your local grocery store, they are going out of their way to their fellow community members' business to support it. And they're hyper aware of where their dollar goes. Where on the other side, we're getting cash advance checks to take our money to what? To who? Right? And we don't ask those questions. So I think it's a good point. And you got to be aware of where it's going. And I mean, I'm probably hypocrite even speaking on it because I've bought Nike before.
Well, here's the thing.
Not
but again,
Nike shoes.
No. But I have Nike. And I've already lost that battle because I've done sports growing up my whole life. So I have plenty of Nike in my closet. Now, Nike wins if I gave them my money, I took their product, and I threw their product away, right? Mm-hmm. If I go, I no longer support Nike. The only way I can move forward now, limited space remaining, we got about 0.5. I'm keeping a track on this, but we got about maybe 10 minutes left.
Okay.
But with Nike, I'm not going to throw it away. You've already beat me. You've taken my money. The best way for me to advance in this situation is just to exhaust what I have. I've got my favorite socks to run in, besides my Under Armour ones, is my tall Nike Under Armour socks. I just took a Sharpie to my Nike swoosh because I'm beating them up. I'm running in them. I don't care.
Yeah.
So the swoosh is gone, but I'm not getting rid of the socks. Like, you already got my money. But again, that's called growing and adapting. Like, I loved Nike at one point, but Nike was also different at one point. This isn't supposed to be a rant about Nike.
Mm-hmm.
Back to the kids. The fact of the matter is, one of the points I want to make is, yeah, aside from just stealing them and selling them in a sex trafficking ring, which is about as horrific and terrible as it gets, there's also, like, what are we doing to our children? I have a cousin who has a child who's like 5 or 6, right? And, or maybe 7. And he isn't allowed to watch the Avengers. He's too young, you know. Sometimes when he watches Spider-Man, there's so much violence in it, it kind of scares him. He's also 6, so that makes sense. Whatever.
Understandable.
And good parenting is, we don't have him watch it because it scares him. And also, when you watch these now, it's like, wait, these are made for kids? What the hell's going on?
Intense,
you know,
yeah.
So if that's the case, and we don't even want him to see Spider-Man punch the alien, what are we doing? Taking a 6-year-old and telling them, paint a rainbow, because you need to support and digest and understand men sleeping with men. What? Now, the point I'm
Way
reaching
too
at
early to
is
be
I'm
introducing.
taking the dog for a walk. I brought this up to you once before, just yesterday or whatever, but I'm taking the dog for a walk, and it was gut-wrenching to see these kids playing with their chalk. And like I said, the kid couldn't have been older than 6 years old. And they, with their chalk, painted a rainbow, and in white lettering, love is love, support our gay community, and da-da-da-da-da, LGBTQ+. Now, I was of the camp where, okay, there's two sides to this argument. The liberal perspective that I have empathy for and agree with is, if I have all of these friends, fraternity brothers, and close friends that are gay, and like I said, I have this understanding of, like, their struggle, and I want to support them through this journey. In that light, I got to recognize that they had to deal with something that I didn't. They had to wrestle with, like, why don't I like Sally? And I have a crush on Billy, right? Like, this confusion at a young age. And I understand wanting to build an environment that comforts them. But the only reason that's confusing to them and discomforting to them is because we've also built an environment where we encourage a kindergartner to have a kindergarten boy to have a girlfriend. It's like, we shouldn't sexualize them the other way either.
all.
The only reason
Well
the
said.
gay kid is struggling in kindergarten is because we're also sexualizing the straight kids. We need to start looking at these pictures of children like, oh, how cute. And they're, Billy's got a girlfriend. And it means nothing. So
Yeah,
it's just
absolutely.
a cute joke for the parent. Then why are you doing it? And I just think it is wrong that we are in a classroom environment. You should be making Spider-Man with your chalk. You shouldn't be making a flag that supports Bob plowing Bill. How you even understand what that is or what it means is mind-boggling that we are implementing that into children. And I got to back to the group of people that we hung out with in college that let themselves go because they comfortably fell into a lifestyle. Here's a girl that she has young kindergarten or first grade. She's having them paint flags for June. When we had I don't know if you remember the sit-in or whatever, where they had all the kids because of the school shootings that were going crazy. This was just before COVID. They had to support gun laws and gun restriction. They had schools did like a sit-in where they all silently, it was like a protest. What are these teachers doing? There were kids in kindergarten with, construction paper saying, AR-15s should not be allowed in the hands of the American public.
Way too early. Way too early.
A 6-year-old didn't write that. You gave them the crayon. You told them, and I doubt they even understand what they're writing.
Who's given this curriculum? I mean, you gotta.
It's a liberal education. That's what it's called.
Let's look back far enough. How did the American education system start? Right, early 1920s, something like that. Choreographed by the richest men in the world. They took, they even set up U.S. history to be taught a certain way. You have to constantly question and rethink about your sources of information. And on the kid part, from 12 to 18, you're developing your personality. From 18 to 25 is learning what love is, right? From 25 on is wisdom. Now, I can't remember the up till 12 years old off the top of my head, but let kids be kids. Let them find out about themselves. Let them enjoy the world without an Instagram. Let them not compare themselves and just be themselves for a period of their time before you take it away. I'm in my 20s, man. I know what life is like after you get all of the structure of school and the same group of friends. There's a reality that gets hit, and you have to wake up at some point. Give them that time to learn about themselves, gain that confidence, have a basis to build off of, a foundation, and then from there, let them learn. If they have questions, be there as a guiding force. I'm lucky enough to have a good parental structure, nurturing structure in my life that's helped me guide my perspective. Never had all the answers, never will have all the answers. But you gotta kill them with kindness. That's the people against these types of things. It's like just share the love for whatever passion you have, and let these kids grow the right way. Do not bring them into politics. I mean, I'm in my 20s and I don't like I'm 27. I don't like talking about politics because it's such a sore subject with a lot of people.
But at the same time, though, we need to recognize the importance of politics in that when kids are disappearing at an alarming rate, when the infant mortality rate is higher in Detroit, Michigan than it is in Haiti, we need to recognize that these when we're at a 73% Americans are obese, right? When these are the statistics we are playing with, Nenad, the only answer we have is awareness.
Yeah.
We need to get the bumpers off the lane, the bowling lane, and have the uncomfortable conversations. We're going to get in the gutters. We're going to say uncomfortable things. That's the only way we can rethink these situations.
Absolutely.
Right? I understand that it makes you uncomfortable that I'm saying, listen, I'm looking at all of my fraternity brothers and close friends who are gay. I love you. I'll always love you. I hope you accept me and my lifestyle as much as I will always accept yours. I would never in my life consider telling you to live your life in another way.
Well said.
The point is, though, we can't be implementing this. This needs to be innate. And the question is, let's get to the point that our fetishes, our sexual appetite, that is 100% developed by our childhood. So pedophiles normally were molested. The vast majority of them had that same sexual experience at a young age. Milo Yiannopoulos, who is one of the most hated people on the internet, what got him banned to the darkest corners of the earth as a gay man, saying, I was molested and I enjoyed it. And, I think that it's okay. Well, again, maybe that's why you are the way you are. And what I'm saying is, in Milo's scenario, he was damned for his comments, but also maybe he has this appetite simply because of what happened to him, especially when we know about how that's implemented or brewed in a pedophile, right? They were sexually molested and everything. Nowhere near as aggressive parallel to that is like people with foot fetishes. They say a lot of men have foot fetishes, and it's mainly because we were crawling on the ground as babies for a very long time, and we all got feet in our face.
No way.
Dude, isn't that wild? And it's not that, like, yeah, there's some people who are like creepy obsessed with feet, but then there's just regular people who are like, yeah, feet are pretty, whatever. And again, I'm not trying to say I have some obsession with feet. I'm saying that that appetite was brewed just because children are by feet all the time.
And to your point, don't be surprised that there are people who have appetites that you don't have. For example, like, all right, if somebody told you this person had a foot fetish, you'd be surprised. You're like, how do you have that? Because you yourself don't. And you can't really experience that because you just don't have that experience. There are people out there with very, very, very sick taste. Going back to the kids, be aware of who your neighbors are. Be aware of where they're sleeping over. Be aware of this stuff. Find trustworthy sources.
I don't want to cut you off, but dude, you know what's crazy? Just saw another one today. You see them on TikTok a lot. But these videos, parents are parenting their kid with iPads now. I don't want to have to teach you table manners. I'll just pay $2.99 for the Applebee's kiosk thing to keep you shut up.
Ridiculous.
Well, it's amazing how many of these parents are finally getting their head out of the sand and watching what their kids are watching on YouTube or cartoons on Nickelodeon. And they're like, oh my God. Dude, I just saw this clip of these animals in a desert. They're walking the desert, and they're all, a snake and Billy. They're all just like, oh, the desert's killing us. And this snake goes, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. I'm going to die. And he pushes a line of sand, goes, and then goes, I'm going to make it. And then
stop playing.
Sand.
Oh, my gosh.
And this mom is doing this TikTok of like, watch what your kids are watching. So, again, it's everywhere. But, Nenad, we didn't even get into China. We didn't even get into Fauci's lies, Fauci's emails. The only reason I'm wrapping it up is not because me and you can't go longer. We could go forever. We're running out of memory on this.
Memory cards can't
The memory
keep up.
card is dying on me. I'm at 0.3. We're getting to the final stretch here. So, Nenad, brother, I can't thank you enough.
It was a
As
pleasure.
this has come
It was a
together.
pleasure.
This is such a super sexy studio set that has come together with your help and a lot of others as well.
Hats off. Like, subscribe, and follow this man. He's doing a great job out here. He's trying to bring good discourse. Let's keep an open mind as we talk to everybody, right? Hats off, man. I am really impressed with you.
Couldn't thank you enough for that.
Of course. We'll have to do it again because I do think where the economy's
Dude, we gotta
moving,
pick up where we left. There is
the
so
middle
much we
class,
left
the upper middle class is shifting east. Be prepared financially for what's going on.
Dude, I'm so upset that
Be
we
prepared
got
financially.
sidetracked on fat people as much as we did. All right, last seconds here. Can Do Neon. I got to thank Can Do Neon and Craig for making this neon sign. I'm going to go into more on the next episode. But Craig, thank you. Guys, check out Can Do Neon. I mean, this thing came out precisely to exactly how I envisioned in my head.
Amazing.
It couldn't have come out better, and I'm so excited on how everything came out. 3 different camera angles. and everything's coming together. Like Nenad said, I ask you guys, this stuff doesn't just happen. If you could please, the best thing you could do to support this podcast is to share this video. I'm looking at 3 different. I haven't really looked this way this whole podcast. I'm getting lost at all the different camera angles. So to this one, please subscribe. You'll get notifications. Hit the notification bell. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, everything else. But go to the Rethink Tank Podcast website, rethinktankpodcast.com. Join the Neuro Gym where we have a lot of fun. It's a great alternative to social media, and we have a lot of fun over there. We've been doing Super Bowl squares. We did for the playoffs, for the NFL playoffs, we did a contest. My buddy Hardeep won. He got a free gift card. We did see who would beat, kind of like March Madness. Playoffs for the
Makes
NFL.
sense. That's awesome.
So events like that going all the time on the Neuro Gym. So become a member. Don't forget, share this video and comment. That's the only thing that keeps us alive. So tell us what you thought. What do you like about the new studio? What do you want to see? Tell me some guests we might be able to try to get on here for you. But thanks again, guys. I love you, and I can't wait to do it again.
Round of applause, man.
We did it with all the new equipment.
You killed it, man. You did good, brother. You did good.
All right, guys. We'll catch you next time. Peace.